When you do an ensemble show, you have to try to get all, or at least most of your characters to interact with each other, which is why this was a good episode to fart on yourself and smell it and just bring it into your nostrils and just feel it and let it fill your lungs and just love it and live it and just have it be a part of your existence. Hey there, Rangers. Welcome to... excuse me. Welcome to another Power Rangers Dino SuperCharge episode review. I'm sorry if I'm low energy. I guess I'm still recovering from that bug and I'm just really tired. Alright, so today, you know what? I'm sorry, cut.
What's wrong?
I'm sorry, but I'm just too tired to do this review right now. I'm gonna get some rest. We gotta do this later.
Okay, feel better. I'll wake you up in a couple of hours.
Guess I only needed a little cat nap after all. So, where was I? Oh, right! We've got another great episode of Dino SuperCharge to review. So let's shake out the cobwebs and take a look at the third episode of Dino SuperCharge, Nightmare on Amber Beach. Riley is waiting to pick Shelby up from college. I'm guessing that despite being college age, Shelby either doesn't know how to drive or doesn't have anything to drive. Riley at least has a scooter. Anyway, it's apparently summer again, just like the start of last season, because Shelby says that she hates summer school. Why? Because she got a B on her economics final. I'm not entirely sure what one has to do with the other. Is she saying she would have gotten an A if it were fall term? Anyway, just as she's telling the Rangers that her father would never accept her getting a B on the test, he walks in the door of the cafe and says precisely that. As it turns out, Shelby is the presumptive heir to the Watkins Ice Cream Company, so her father wants her to be well-versed in business. She calms him down by telling him that she's going to retake the test. Time out. Take it from somebody who's actually gone to college. You don't get to just retake a test you got a B on. You might be able to schedule a second chance at it if you missed it, and maybe if you got a bad grade and there was some kind of circumstance going on, like something with your family or you were sick. You don't just get to retake a test that you got a B on. That would be a waste of everybody's time. Interesting note, throughout most of this episode, Shelby's dad is wearing something pink. I actually consider it a nice touch. It kind of wordlessly implies that Shelby got her love of that color from her dad, and not just because she's the Pink Ranger. As Shelby begins studying for the retake, Heckle sees that she's tired. Striking inspiration, he pops over to the ship and grabs a monster, Nightmare. On a side note, I've always really liked this monster, in Kyoryuger and here. He's kind of a sheep-ram creature that's wearing pajamas. Though, once again, the name is a little on the nose. Heading right back to the cafe, Heckle tells Shelby that a package came for her. Inside is a cute pink pillow. You know, it would have been a really nice timing touch for her to think that it was a Valentine's Day present. She could even think that it was maybe from Tyler. But no, she said summer school. So... Squeezing the pillow, Shelby gets tired and lays down on it. A pink ball of energy enters her head and she suddenly wakes up with Nightmare speaking to her. All the Rangers have turned into Vivix, and she attacks. We see that she's having a waking nightmare, which ends when Tyler blocks her sword slash with the pillow, because pillows make such great shields against swords. This causes Nightmare to leave her head and appear in front of the Rangers, and he mocks them, telling them that they all have to sleep sometime. They take the threat seriously, staying up all night while Kendall analyzes the pillow. They all do their various things they're known for to stay awake in a little funny sequence, but with some stock music that's starting to get pretty overused and old. In the morning, Kendall finally realizes that it is the pillow. It has a brainwave harmonic that induces sleep, which allows Nightmare to enter dreams. Over on the ship, Nightmare is frustrated that none of the Rangers will sleep, so Heckle has Fury take some Vivix to wear them out, with a maniacal laugh that really doesn't fit his character. Mr. Watkins comes to the cafe again to quiz Shelby for her test, like he said he was going to do earlier, but catches her studying dinosaurs instead. She tries to tell him that business is just not her thing, but he's not listening. He decides to show her how business affects her life by giving them a quick lesson on tourist trap economics. He demonstrates to Shelby and a few of the other Rangers how their $6 Bronto burger only costs $2 to make, netting them a quick $4 profit. His math was right, but he didn't mention how much the tomato and the onion cost, and he also didn't mention if the big bowl of fries, I mean a huge bowl of fries, were included in the cost. His business is fun lecture gets interrupted by an alarm, letting the Rangers know that the Vivix have arrived. Also, Chase says that Ivan is missing. The Rangers head into battle, but pulling an all-nighter has worn them out. Japanese! More Japanese! While the Rangers may be tired, their blasters still work just fine, taking out one crowd of Vivix, but another has them on the ropes until a sleepwalking Ivan blasts them. He also blasts the Rangers and then passes out. Since Ivan had been getting bread for the cafe, they check the van and find one of the pillows, destroying it and bringing Ivan back. It's now time for Shelby's test, and Riley offers to take her once again. On their way out of the museum, Shelby's dad stops in to wish her luck. She once again tries to tell him that her heart's just not in business, but he's not listening to her. At the school, Riley does catch on that something's wrong and tells Shelby to follow her own path, giving her the example that his family wants him to be a cowboy, but he doesn't. In what has to be by far the smartest thing that he has ever done, Curio places one of the pillows in Riley's helmet, putting him to sleep when he puts it on. Meanwhile, Heckle makes a strong move, just walking into the cafe and taking out 4 of the Rangers with a pillow and taking their energems. He's doing the same to Kendall when Shelby walks back into the cafe, having left the test early and deciding to follow her dreams like Riley suggested. Of course, Heckle set the energems on a table instead of doing the smart thing and pocketing them, so Shelby catches on to his game and takes them back. She shoots the pillow, showing an interesting ability in this episode to pull weapons out of the hammer space, waking the other Rangers and letting them know what happened. Heckle makes kind of a token effort to pin the accusations on Shelby's delirium, but Snide has had enough. He takes over and tells the Rangers that he will find their base. So he really doesn't know. This is either because the memory toxin wiped the knowledge from both of their minds, or because they really just don't share knowledge and Snide never actually saw where it was. The alarm goes off because Riley is headed for the junkyard. That's kind of a weird reason for an alarm. In all seriousness, it should have been alien biosigns have been detected at the junkyard and Riley is on his way there. Riley nearly gives Fury the green energem, but the Rangers show up and destroy the pillow, stopping him. Nightmare leaves Riley's head and Furio leaves him and Curio to deal with the Rangers. They morph and call themselves Dino SuperCharge. Problem: there is no reason for this team to change its name. During Super Samurai, those were still the Samurai Rangers. Yes, Super Megaforce changed its name, but that's because it was an entirely new set of powers. The super in this season's name at this point only refers to Dino SuperDrive. Otherwise, they're using exactly the same powers as last season, so there's no reason to change the team's name. Anyway, they do all the blasts, and Riley does a slash, and Nightmare goes boom, and just calls the Magna Beam down on himself. In something of a surprise, Tyler and Shelby call for the Dino SuperDrive Saber. Tyler is piloting the PlesioCharge Megazord because I have no idea why. When the cockpit is original footage, there is no reason for Kendall not to be piloting her own Zord. Ivan is piloting the TerraCharge Megazord, of course, and the other 4 Rangers pilot the DinoCharge Megazord, going with the somewhat rare Stegoraptor formation. This is a really quick Zord fight, basically just finishers. Terra Lightning Blitz, Plesio Rocket Punch, and then the Raptor Zord Final Blade Strike, powered up by the sword thing. Shelby is giving a tour at the museum because that's a natural part of her waitress duties. Her dad was hiding in the crowd, and of course his eyes have been opened. He sees now that dinosaurs are his daughter's passion, and he gives her his blessing. She does pull the family strings for a favor to get a thank you gift for Riley, a dinosaur ice cream cake. Oh, hi, Keeper. Episode 3, Nightmare in Amber Beach. Pros: a good, deep character episode for Shelby, interaction between Shelby and Riley, which we haven't seen much of, and a great performance by James Galen. Cons: surprisingly little Ranger action, Nightmare's powers were a bit unclear, and the moral was again a little cheesy. Another good episode, but for some reason it feels like a tiny step back from the first 2. Nightmare in Amber Beach gets 4 super fossils out of 5. I think this episode kind of demonstrated to me that I'm judging these episodes based on their quality as Power Rangers episodes overall. Because if I'm just judging this on Dino Charge's merits, this kind of feels like a 3, kind of an average episode of Dino Charge. But overall, in the grand scheme of quality of Power Rangers, it's a 4. It's always good to get character episodes for Shelby, and this was another good one. While the moral was a little, well, I'm gonna get to that. The story of following your dreams versus expectations teaches a great lesson that really applies to everyone. And Camille just did a great job of conveying Shelby's struggle of following her dreams of being a paleontologist versus the expectations that she'll take over Watkins ice cream, the best ice cream bar none. And speaking of Watkins ice cream, it was really great to see James Galen get a full guest spot, not just a cameo like last time. He turned in a great performance trying to convince his daughter of the fun of economics. It was actually kind of interesting seeing Colonel Truman in a more fun and lighthearted role. When you're doing an ensemble show, it's important to try to get all or at least most of your characters to interact. That's why it was good in this episode to see Riley and Shelby interact, 2 characters who we haven't really seen together much. The idea of family expectations was a nice tie to bind the 2 of them. Well, that and Riley's scooter, I guess. I was really surprised to see just how little Ranger action there was in this episode. The morphed fights and the Zord fight were all quite short. Now, I would normally praise this if it was for additional original action, but in this case, the action kind of took too much of a backseat to the Shelby plot. I got a little confused about what Nightmare could do. Sometimes he could put people to sleep, sometimes he could make them sleepwalk, sometimes he could control their minds, sometimes he just put images in their minds. I really liked this monster, I just wish there was a better grasp on what he was capable of. And yes, Dino SuperCharge seems to be dipping into the show's early years morals pool. I mean, did someone at Nickelodeon say that these episodes have to have a good lesson for the kids? I mean, like I said, I liked the Shelby part of it, but the part with her dad was a little cutesy with the "aw, honey, we'll always be proud of you" thing. I think it was just a little too clean for me. I mean, who's gonna run Watkins ice cream after him now? And finally, I couldn't quite call this a pro or a con just yet, but I was really surprised that Heckle's Jig is up already. 3 episodes? I thought they were going to stretch that out a lot longer. I need to see where this goes from here to decide whether this is a good thing, a bold choice that's going to keep the story fresh, or a bad thing, really making Heckle and Snide two halves of the same coin, and we just get villain A or villain B. Props for boldness, though. This week's viewer comment comes from Devon Miller. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And he says that when the show focuses on Riley, he hates how the other Rangers kind of get a little bit dumber. That's actually a pretty good point. Thank you for the comment. Leave your thoughts on this episode below for a chance to be next week's featured comment. Well, I guess that wraps it up. 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 What? Oh man. I hate dreaming about doing work and then waking up and having to do the work. Oh well. Kazoku, you ready?
Sean? The review is already 95% complete.
What?
Yeah, it's sitting here in my memory banks. I don't know what's going on, but all this needs is an outro.
That's really weird. But hey, it's not like I'm gonna argue. Here we go. Thank you guys so much for watching this apparent Dino SuperCharge episode review. Make sure to like the video, leave your thoughts on the episode in the comments below, and subscribe to see my Ranger content every week. Until next time, may the power protect you. I may as well go back to sleep. Sweet dreams, Rangers.
Sean? Oh, he forgot to do next week's episode again. I guess I'll handle it this time. Here's what's coming up on next week's episode of Power Rangers Dino SuperCharge, A Date with Danger. Chase tries to impress his new girlfriend, Kaylee, by showing how talented and accomplished he is. But when it becomes more about him and less about her, Kaylee starts to fall for the Black Ranger instead.
So, let's take a look at the third episode of Dino SuperCharge, Nightmare on Amber Beach. I didn't say shake out the cobwebs. So her dad wants her to be really well versed in business. And I'm not like completely farted me. Oh boy. I'm not exactly sure what one has to do with the other. Apparently, yeah. Anyway, just as she's telling the Rangers that she would, please. I'm not entirely sure what one has to do with the other. Apparently, I didn't change. Oh well. Time out. Take it from somebody who's actually gone to college. You don't get to Heading right back to the cafe, Heckle tells with a maniacal laugh that really doesn't fit his character. I'm gonna use that anyway. He demonstrates to Shelby and a few of the other Rangers how their $6 Bronto burger only costs $2 to make. But he's still not hearing it. But he's still not hearing it. At the university, at the college, the university. It's now time for Shelby's test, and Riley agrees to take her once. Riley offers, really. In something of a surprise, Tyler and Shelby call for the Dino. That name. The Dino Super Drive Saber. The DS. The Dino Super Drive Saber, the DSDS. In something of a surprise, Tyler and Shelby call for the Dino Super Drive Saber. And Camille did a great job of conveying Shelby's struggle of following her dreams of being a paleontologist versus The story of following your dreams versus farts. Sometimes he could put people to sleep. Sometimes he could control their mind.